Pitching. Let's talk about all the pitchers up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Tuesday, July 18th. I am Frank Samfeld, joined by Scott White, and let's talk about two pitching standouts from Monday's action. Nick Pivetta was spectacular as a bulk reliever at the Oakland A's. 6 no-hit innings with 13 strikeouts and 18 swinging strikes. The other name was Griffin Canning, who set a new career high with 12 strikeouts up against the New York Yankees. Scott, what are we doing with Griffin Canning and Nick Pivetta?
Well, probably nothing, especially in Canning's case, because we have a whole season of Canning doing basically this. He gets swings and misses at a good rate, and that's a very good stat to excel in, but gives up a lot of hard contact. And even in this game with the 12 strikeouts, he had 9 base runners in 5 2/3 innings, so a high whip. I just don't know that there's a lot of utility there for Canning except as a streaming option. I don't know that the stats apart from the strikeouts are going to look great often enough to justify adding him in most leagues. And I'm not to the point where I'm willing to add Nick Pivetta either, but he's been doing some interesting things lately. Worth pointing out, this start was against the Athletics, so kind of a AAA lineup. But 6 no-hit innings, 12 strikeouts, obviously very impressive, 18 swinging strikes. His last 4 appearances, all in relief, but the shortest was 3 1/3 innings, so they're kind of like starts and working in this bulk reliever role. Last 4 appearances, Nick Pivetta, 2.45 ERA, 0.76 whip, 16.2 K per 9. I'm not really sure what's changed from. The velocity's been up a little, particularly on the slider, but nothing major. I'm at least keeping an eye on Pivetta. I'm not motivated to go out and pick him up, but I'm keeping an eye on him because it wasn't that long ago, just a few years, where he was kind of he was the mid-round starting pitcher target everybody was excited about in fantasy. And it didn't pan out, but maybe it's about to.
Yeah, I remember that. It was, I don't know, maybe a handful of years ago. It was Nick Pivetta,
the Phillies.
Nick Pivetta or Shane Bieber. Who's going to be the breakout? One went one way and the other went another way. Let's talk about Grayson Rodriguez, who made his return to the mound for the Baltimore Orioles, and he was facing the Dodgers. 5+ innings, 7 hits, 4 runs allowed with 4 strikeouts to 2 walks. Some good in this start. The velocity was up across the board. The spin rates were up for Grayson Rodriguez. He threw 65% of his pitches for strikes. The bad is that he still allowed a lot of hard contact. 8 hard hits allowed in this start, 91.9 average exit velocity. Scott, your takeaway here, Grayson Rodriguez's first start back.
I mean, I'd hope for better. But it's still mostly positive. He did look like a different pitcher from the one we saw before. Threw mostly fastballs and changeups, 82% combined were those 2 pitches. Both were up 1.2 miles per hour, which was great. But the slider, his third most thrown pitch, up 2.4 miles per hour. He only threw 8 of them. And Grayson Rodriguez is... But part of the reason he was such a highly regarded prospect is he did have this full arsenal of great pitches. One of the things he was supposed to be working on in the minors, in addition to fastball command, was improving the shape of his breaking balls. Which it just seemed like he kind of got off completely when he suffered a lat injury last June, and came back, didn't look quite right this spring. Obviously didn't look right for the 2 months he was in the majors, and got back to being more like himself in the minors. He said as much. I just wish he'd mix up the arsenal more, mix in those breaking balls more. Maybe he plans to, and he was just kind of easing his way back in, just trying to get comfortable at the major league level since he hasn't been comfortable yet. But again, there was enough positive here from Grayson Rodriguez that I'm certainly holding if I was excited to pick him back up.
We don't talk about relievers often here on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, so let's do that now. Let's rank a few names. Jordan Hicks picked up his 8th save. Kyle Finnegan picked up his 12th save, and Hunter Harvey landed on the IL. Looks like Finnegan will be the Nationals closer once again, and Alex Lange picked up his 15th save. Scott, how would you rank that group if you need a closer? Jordan Hicks, Alex Lange, Kyle Finnegan.
I'm going to go with Lange Number one, the Tigers have seemed pretty committed to him in the ninth inning. He's had his rough stretches. His control can disappear on him, but he has good swing and miss stuff. And I think he's the best choice to keep getting saves rest of season between the three. Jordan Hicks has been surprisingly stable at the back end for the Cardinals, and maybe he just holds on to that role when Ryan Helsley returns. So I'll put Jordan Hicks second. Third, and I'd call it a distant third, is Kyle Finnegan, who I think is the worst pitcher of the three and is the most likely to lose save chances before the season's done.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.